two of the champions that really can contest him now. We're going to see the Misfortune locked in. This champion, in the hands of most of this tournament, has looked lackluster. Ruler himself, alongside Lehends, pulling it out and looking clean against down 1 Kia last week. We'll see if Deft can repeat some of that success and what the pairing is going to be alongside BeryL.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going into the realm of melee supports here. Lulu is up, but I'm not sure if they want to go for something like the Varus Lulu. We saw how vulnerable Lulu can be against champions like Camille with the full dive. Varus Tahm Kench is a much better option to keep your Varus safe against the Camille, so your support is a lot more beefy and a lot less likely to get picked off. Now it's just a case of top lane. Does he go for something like the GP? Jax is a good pick, Fiora is a good pick, but these aren't really the champions that we've seen out of Doran. We've mostly seen, you know, the likes of Camille and Renekton and Maokai and Gnar, but he is going to be confident enough to lock the Fiora in. I think that's his first Fiora game of summer.
And when we talk about Doran, we talk so often about team play and team fighting. His laning phase is solid, yes, but there we are. Soraka going to be the call here against the Tahm Kench. The silence incredibly powerful. And again, more curveballs being thrown by the DRX bottom lane.
Oh, you love to see it, going for the Soraka there. Normally in the Tahm Kench lanes, I see the Varus Tahm actually get pushed into the Soraka, but the Soraka will be so powerful in keeping the front line alive. And DRX have a little bit of dive with, of course, the Camille Sejuani. And with the Camille ult, we saw yesterday from T1, you could pick Nami and Lucian with the Camille, and as the Camille would ult, the Nami ult would come over the top of that. Here you've got an MF ult and a Soraka silence that can come over the top of that as well. So they don't have as much dive to follow up, but they have the range of abilities and ultimates to help Kingen out when he singles out that one target.
And that is an alpaca in the audience. Pleasure to see you, sir. Don't know how you got out of the petting zoo, but you're more than welcome here. Of course, in this first game, lane phase is going to be massive because we really need to see if some of those explosive discrepancies are going to show themselves. Peanut, of course, struggled against Canyon, but Canyon, best in the world. They're going to have to see if Pyosik is up to the task to match him in this game. Peanut, notorious for creative early game pathing. If he can find an angle somewhere on the map, he will build a lead for the team.
He definitely will, and he's going to have to find Pyosik. I think Pyosik will be hovering on the top side of the map. Needs to cover bot here to get push-outs for the Soraka. I think their 3v3 will be innately weaker, but the Camille Sejuani is such a strong pairing. The problem is the Fiora will innately outscale the Camille in isolation, so they do need to focus topside. And of course, we saw that Deft is the AD carry with the lowest jungle proximity in the entire tournament, and Ruler is first. So we expect Pyosik to be playing around the mid-top side. Has the Sejuani, a lot stronger at 6 to help the Azir out, but double AP in the mid-jungle will make it so Chovy's life is a little bit easier. But here we are, Game 1. Gen.G DRX Semifinals.
Loving the crowd here in Atlanta. Every game significant. Remember, DRX have not beaten Gen.G this year. It's about small steps. DRX have yet to falter, finding the reverse sweep, finding their way out of every single stage. We'll see if they can do that again today. But tracking the early game, again, early pathing, early impact in these lanes is going to be so important as we move on. I think more often than not, we're very used to talking about mid and bot lane when you look at these two teams. But with the Camille locked in, with the potential for Sejuani to go topside, we're also going to have to pay some attention to Kingen and Doran as well.
Definitely are. I think topside is going to be the majority of the focus. Oftentimes when you're a jungler and you don't have many options in lanes, I mean, Peanut's right here, bot lane is not a great option, a little bit of setup. But topside, you need to cover your Fiora. In the 2v2 you might lose, but you need to make sure at least you're around to stop any kind of pushing out waves, to set up ganks, any kind of dives if Camille gets good wave states. So both junglers will path towards the top side of the map. There's the pink ward level 1 place down there from Pyosik, I believe it was, in the river, just to make sure there's no level 2, level 3 shenanigans towards mid onto Zeka. There's also a ward on the other side of the entrance, so Zeka will have a lot of information to work with. And bot push will be contested. Oftentimes you see the Tahm Kench get the stacks to actually get the push in, so that's why, despite being in a range disadvantage, they can start to push the first couple of waves.
And that's why early vision can be so incredibly crucial, just getting control of those bot lane brushes, stopping Tahm Kench from using his ludicrously high base stats, as we saw Keria do so well earlier in the tournament. For now, though, a relatively quiet laning phase. Zeka getting level 2 first, big health advantage over Chovy. For now, just a bit of a pressure advantage, might be able to deny a few CS here. On the bottom side, of course, Deft and BeryL doing everything they can to get level 2 first.
Really good trades there by Zeka. Pyosik will be first to level 3. He's done Blue Grump Wolf, so he'll be level 3 moving into the top side if he wants to look for invades, but top wave's not in a great state, and he doesn't have information on the enemy jungler, so we're probably expecting full clears from both sides here. But mid is under pressure. That pink ward could pay dividends there if Peanuts went into bot river and tried to gank Zeka, but Zeka has so much information so that he can trade so aggressively onto Chovy and start to queue forward. That's the thing with the Azir. The second you queue forwards, majority of your escape is gone.
Certainly is. Something we'll have to track, of course, now that level 3 is here as well, has access to the shifting sands, the E, allow them to get back out to safety for the most part, but would want to extend that dash if necessary. Ruler and Lehends clearing out what they can while they wait for the wave to crash, knowing they're not really in a position to contest right at this moment. Of course, you can see Deft not opting for a second combat sum, opting instead to take the cleanse. Once level 6 comes around for Ruler, it's going to be so much harder for DRX to weather the storm in the bottom lane.
A little bit more setup then, isn't there? So Peanut can pay a visit. Right now he's going for a full clear. Looks like Pyosik's going to focus on his Krug, so he'll get to level 4, whereas Peanut wants to secure this early crab. Now that does mean if Pyosik bases and goes to bot side, he should be able to trade. Otherwise, Peanut, if he has the information, will look to double crab. So level up comes through. What's Pyosik's decision here? Does he base? Does he move towards mid? Does he move towards top? Looks like he's going to queue over the wall here, but the crab's already gone.
Looking for the angle.
But he is being sneaky here. They didn't spot him with the sweeper plant. This is an amazing position for the Sejuani. If he can just wait a little bit, hug this wall, and sneak up the side here, they could have setup onto Doran. Oh my god!
No, they spot him! Okay, wait, did they back up? Do they know? Yes, they do. Doran walking away.
Yeah, pings are coming down. Splinter Cell failed this time around, but Doran walked up with a creep.
Stepping forward, keep your eyes on the parry. That's going to be everything. The riposte where it's going to go. Initially getting locked up. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the stacks. Waiting it out. They're going to lock up Doran now, but they don't have the follow-up. Now Peanut into the thick of it. 3 stacks on him. 4th, not quite going to come out. DRX backing away, top lane and jungle matching each other.
Really good patience there from Kingen. He actually uses the hook shot to go in front of Doran, intentionally missing him, knowing that he will riposte, so he actually gets distance in front of him to force his flash. Wave will crash, Kingen will get a good base, and that could have backfired incredibly quickly if the ward wasn't placed in river and just spotted out Pyosik at the last second of it. Bot crab is still up though, and Pyosik knows it. He's gone for the boots early, and he's trying to run down there to pick that up as quickly as possible. TP back from every solo laner right now so far, except for Kingen, who still needs to take that base. Deft and Ruler coming out of base as well.
Tracking the itemization as well. Early Sheen for Fiora, no effective combat stats, but does have the passive. Has that extra damage to come through in the trades. See what DRX can do with that advantage on the top side of the map, having that flash down, having that TP down, and while the TPs will be traded, we're looking at a 5-minute window where Doran's going to feel much more vulnerable, but it is one they have to capitalize on. It's unrealized advantage yet.
It is, and King will take that base. 2v2 will always be in favor of the Camille Sejuani as long as neither of them makes the mistake of fighting into the Fiora riposte. You know, Sejuani needs to time her E so that Fiora can't W it with range, and Camille can never use her hookshot into the Fiora if it's up. Patience is key when you're playing against Fiora, so DRX showing it already. Bot's wave will push in there. DRX had a small window for Drake if they had bot push, but they don't right now, so abandoning that call. Pyosik's just going to go for another full clear towards top side. The closer he gets to level 6, the easier it is to make these plays.
Certainly the case, and you can see on the early backs, Ruler opting instead of going for something like Sustain to match out the BAM, so from the side of Deft, opting for triple longsword, just extra AD, trying to push more of the individual advantage in trades. Varus, notoriously super oppressive, courtesy of the slow, the extra damage coming through on the procs as well.
Looking at pings here, I think DRX were scared of some kind of top dive. The wave was crashing and there was a lot of assistance pings, so Pyosik's around. Kingen doesn't have to sweat too much, and Doran will take a base on that crashing wave. You can see these things happen where you get mid-push, you go into fog of war on one side, and all of a sudden that side lane is incredibly scared. But in actual essence, what you're doing is just basing anyway. So that's just a pressure point that you can use to keep your base timers up, and that'll help Doran get a base lead onto Kingen. Bot lane trading a little bit. Of course, the Soraka has really good sustain the more Qs she lands. I think he might be maxing Q there, the amount of damage that just did.
Definitely good to have. Peanut now fishing for some sort of play here, just on the bottom side. Ruler coming up as well. Chovy with a stolen Azir ult. If Pyosik's in the area, that's a massive man advantage for the side of Gen.G if they do want to go for this play. Peanut now stepping forward. Zeka realizing it is time to get out, but it's Pyosik now who has been caught. Trying to step in forward, trying to body block the escape. Stun going to come in, but will not find purchase there. Failing on the riposte big. Good patience again from Pyosik.
And that's the beauty of phase rush on the Sejuani, especially when the enemy team has so many melee champs. I'll hold my breath for a second here because Ruler.
The root locked up. That's the root. BeryL from the bush, and the bananas are coming in. That's going to be a flash out and over the wall.
Oh, double summoners blown there from Ruler. Tried to get a couple of those creeps trade onto Deft, but BeryL being sneaky Soraka in the bush finds the silence and root. Deft not in range to follow up. But that's another target for DRX. These side lanes don't have flashes. They just need to bring a numbers advantage and force it, or look for an objective. You know, Herald's up in 30 seconds. If they want to force a 5v5, or if they want to force this Drake 5v5, then they can easily do so, because the Sejuani will be getting closer and closer to that level 6 mark, and you can always easily select a target in fight. There it is, the level up to Pyosik.
And if you look at this game from DRX's perspective, a lot of small advantages going over to them, and now they're going to try to capitalize on them. Lehends waiting in the brush. Pyosik now going in. This should be an easy kill. There's just everybody in the bot lane. Surprise, baby! That's a Camille and first blood for DRX.
That was such a good play by Kingen. He got helped out by Pyosik in the 2v2 top side to force Doran's flash. The wave crashed, Doran had to catch it and base and TP back. Kingen could run back to that lane. So what he does then is he pays his bot side back by ganking down there and then TPing back up. Problem is though is, oh, I think he stole it. Did he just take that one away from Pyosik?
Oh man.
He did. That hurts.
I mean, he's the ruler for a reason.
He is.
The man don't miss.
The man don't miss. That's a crab over to Ruler. Pyosik's gonna start up the dragon. It's Fiora, I think.
Soloing the Herald.
Yeah, soloing the Herald here, Doran, knowing that they need to cross map quickly.
And remember that Camille is just coming up top lane to catch this massive wave. There's still a CS difference, so it was not without cost. The Kingen went down to the bottom lane that he got that first blood, but it's a trade objective for Ruler. No.
Not again.
You can't do this to them.
No, he has a 900 damage smite. He can't steal this.
There's Varus Q does a lot of damage. Charge? Okay. All right.
Doesn't have the damage. Good smite. Pyosik being safe, and it's a trade of neutrals. Herald over to Gen.G, Dragon over to DRX. Question is, where will they use this Herald? You have to expect it to be topside. Peanut doing a little bit of counter jungling. Red buff's up. Pyosik will spot him, but there's a ward there, so Peanut knows he's around. Chovy has mid push.
Also difficult. The red buff is up and available. Similarly, the empowered recall allows him to get out quite quickly.
Oh, this is one of those moments where you have to find him. You know he's in your jungle somewhere, but the actual fact he's based with the Herald, so Pyosik will check his camps and make sure he's safe, and we'll clear those up.
This is the second time you've highlighted that, but the absence of information, what could be waiting for you in the fog of war, something that always has to be respected on either side. Chovy getting spotted as he returns to mid, getting that information over to Zeka, and as we take stock of the lane state, 10 CS lead on the top side of the map. Bot lane very much in favor of Deft on the back of some early lane pressure as well as that positive sum trade. So overall, things going pretty well right now.
Oh, that was
side of DRX.
That was really smart from Deft. He knew Ruler was hugging the wall, so he couldn't go up, so he actually ulted right through the wave in his face, knowing the only way he could run is backwards. So he used the E first to slow him. Gets a really good trade and takes the base, and now he'll run back to lane as quick as possible with that 20 CS lead and keep up the pressure. Still no summoners on that bot side. 3 minutes, 40 seconds away from the dragon, and we expect the game to be slow like this because on one side, DRX have a fantastic scaling with Azir and Soraka and things like this. Really good team fight with MF. And Gen.G want to scale because they're playing safe with Varus, Tahm, and the Fiora will do well into the Fiora the later the game the later the game goes.
Certainly the case. And I like what we're seeing as well from Deft in terms of itemization. Early BT has been super popular, allows you to mitigate a lot of trading, as well as just raw AD for your ultimate. But most importantly, the dreamy life of any MF main is you just don't have to buy boots. Feels good. Just strut your way back to lane, although could come to haunt him depending on how aggressive Lehends wants to get.
Deft's been holding this freeze here for so long. BeryL gonna stop Chovy's base, and it just makes it so that Gen.G's ruler feels Gen.G's bot lane, feels so exposed when they walk up to try and push out these waves and crash them. Especially given that Peanut's hovering top the majority of the time. But I think what DRX are saying now is they want a Herald somewhere and we need to match it. So BeryL's looking for information through the map. Because Deft's freezing bot here, Ruler says we're not going to go back down there. We're going to run towards the top side, go 4-man here, and likely place the Herald down. So DRX are ready to respond, ready to cover. We'll see what Zeka's movement is here, because he could TP up this tower to help the defense. We'll see what Deft does as well. He's going to hold the freeze, he's going to fast push. Peanut
Stepping forward.
Oh.
Peanut, the patience here, waiting till he's got backup so they cannot collapse on him. Does not overplay his hand. Doran and Ruler now stepping forward. DRX doing what they can to clear the wave for now. Certainly do not have the best tools to stop this push from happening.
This is a really good map read here from DRX. They just stopped the Herald in its tracks. They can't place it now, Gen.G. It's an even numbers, and Chovy's gone towards bot with no unleashed TP, meaning Zeka has the mid push. But they need to force something. The second this wave dies, that's it. The play is off, and they have 2 minutes left for plates.
And a reminder that so many creeps are dying. So much money that Gen.G could have had is dying on that bottom side of the map, is dying in this mid lane as we see Chovy return back. So DRX being there not only stops the Herald, but takes so much potential income away from the side of Gen.G.
Might just have to be a case of Peanut placing it either top or mid to get gold for himself. But eventually DRX will have to back off of this top side because Deft is still bot. So if they just keep rinse and repeating, DRX will back away. And now with this wave coming in, the Herald will likely be put down. The golds will be funneled over to Ruler, who's struggling. It's interesting that Gen.G don't give the gold to Doran. Doran's ahead and he's going to outscale. Ruler is behind. Let's give him as much gold as possible.
And that's just the power of the nameplate. It's not about the champion, it's about the player. In this case, gold going to be split a little bit here. Deft on the bottom side walking away from the Fiora. Pyosik taking a decent amount of poke, and Gen.G doing what they can to keep the siege up. Plates are still going to be up for another minute. Right now, the gold within touching distance, 200 gold to the Ocean Drake on the side of DRX, really the only difference.
Deft has no flash, he has to be careful.
Deft walking away, the cleanse. Doran, is he just going to walk him down the heel? Now coming in for the Soraka, is it going to be enough? He's trying to pinch the win. Oh! The 1-for-1? Doran, no! How does he do it? He makes it out even in the face of the heel from BeryL.
With the Sunderer spike, Deft thought that he was safe because of the Soraka ult. Maybe he thought he could bait Doran in, but the healing from Grasp and Sunderer and the kill was enough to make it so he would live through that last tower shot. Deft overstepping a little bit. Not sure about the limits there on the 1v1 with the Soraka ult, and now that means that Ruler can step forwards here and look for this tower. Big gold swing over to Gen.G.
Gen.G, no fear to step forward here, and we talk about the 2v2 matchup. We forgot about BeryL being top lane and Deft being bottom, and well punished from the side of Gen.G. Again, if DRX had continued to hold that, it could have gotten very bad very quickly, but Doran playing this fantastically.
Yeah, Deft, no flash here, just trying to kite out Doran. And no, this is where he had to flash initially, so he was scared of Doran proccing the vitals. And then he steps up for the wave, and Doran just goes for the flash Q. Look where that vital is, it's in the perfect spot. Cleanses away from what he expects to be the slow, pops the W, gets the Soraka ult, and then Doran manages to get the kill with the grasp, with the Sunderer, with the level up. It's just enough to make it a 1-for-0.
And credit to Doran for playing that well, but also 3 back-to-back very fortunate vital procs in terms of location. First one to the right, next one in front of him, the third one behind as he's coming around the tower as well. So not only was it well executed, but the RNG going in his favor too, as DRX now trying to bully their way in. They've got the 1-item spike for Deft. He's got his ulti up and available. This is going to be tough for Gen.G to contest.
No TP on Doran, so he'll be very late to this fight. DRX want to get this down as quick as possible. Can Peanut steal? Will DRX engage? The Tahm Kench ult is crucial against the Sejuani, but Zeka can look to shuffle.
Still in the area. They're ready to flip this on the 50-50. He can go unstoppable over the wall if he needs to. Chovy. Can he find something? Varus ult is going to be big. Peanut now locked up, but that's the Tahm Kench ultimate coming in. Kingen still in the pit. Chovy still in the pit. Looking to get it. He's going to lock it down. That's the jungler now going in. Zeka fishing, looking for an opportunity. The grand challenge issue. That's the 2-man from Lehends. The follow-up now from Gen.G. They will take their kills and walk away happy.
DRX try to take the 5v5. Yes, they get the dragon, but they overstep, and Gen.G punish and pounce onto them. Both carries full. We'll see what they can get off the back of this. Kingen is hovering around on this bot side. Pyosik is behind him. Soraka ult is up in around 5 to 10 seconds if they want to opt into this 2v2.
It's going to get bad very quickly. The hook shot into the wall dive will make it out. Doing what he can to hold on to the tower, but again, good news for DRX. They are able to grab that dragon, but giving more kills over, certainly not going to feel good. And certainly when the follow-up is second Herald to the side of Gen.G, it's not looking quite as positive as it once did.
A lot of tools now for Gen.G to work with. We'll look at this one again because I think the Varus ult comes out here onto Pyosik, so he can't hit the dragon, so he decides to ult onto Peanut, who gets the ultimate from Tahm Kench. Now the fight slows down a bit, but then Zeka tries to make it an explosive one. So the dragon goes over to Pyosik, but let's keep our eyes on the Azir here. He goes for Peanut and tries to flash predict, but he actually knocks him away rather than towards his team. I wonder if he could have pushed him into DRX. They could have picked up that kill. Chovy arrives, Doran arrives, and with the gap closed, DRX have no way out.
And you can see in theory how much value you can get out of DRX's composition when you can take out 1 or 2 members when a fight begins. But if you fumble some of those major cooldowns, it is so easy for Lehends, for Chovy, for Doran, Peanut, for all of the members of this team, this lineup, to turn on you in an instant.
This is why Gen.G has just been so successful throughout the year. 50 wins and 9 losses, something along those lines after the quarterfinals since the start of Summer Split. Their carries are just absolute rocks. Look at Chovy CS right now. He's up 20 over Zeka despite losing the push, was juggling mid and bot waves. Ruder fell behind a little bit, but Gen.G know exactly how to get him back in the game. Of course, he has #1 jungle proximity. Peanut's always hovering around his AD carry. Here comes the second Herald onto this mid tower. Deft doesn't have the MF ult for the next 3 or 4 seconds, so he can't use it.
Breaking mid lane. Are they going to push for the second charge here?
MF ult's up now.
They can get that out before any other objectives are up. Feel pretty good. Just going to be the charge for now. A bit more poke, a bit more damage. Chovy now retreating. It's going to be another Cloud Drake. Shout out to our boy Atlas.
Cloud Soul indeed, yeah. And it's roughly a 4k gold lead here for Gen.G. DRX, the only saving grace is they have 2 dragons under their belt, but the Cloud Soul is not a great combat soul to have. You would much rather have something like the Infernal or the Hex deck. But it's still a soul, and they'll try to keep focusing on these dragon stacks. Problem is they have his Zeka on a side lane. It's really, really exposed. He has no tower next to him. Yes, he has his passive that he can put down right now, but if he doesn't have his jungler hovering around, he's a very easy target for Gen.G. If they just push in mid and move towards top, Lehends is already on the way up. Peanut's right behind him. They have TP on Kingen and a Soraka ult to keep him alive, but this will always be a pressure point for Gen.G playing on 2 lanes.
And with Pyosik shadowing on the bottom side, maybe hoping to find a pick, it just means that the entirety of the top side jungle is off limits. Doran Gonna find the parry, now dashing out to safety. What's he gonna get? Grand challenge, looking for multiple marks. Now gonna get locked up in the Hex. I call the main should just fall here. A little bit more healing. Is it going to be enough? Needs to dash forward, but nope, that's the shutdown. Hit him with the flail and walk away.
Big shutdown now over to DRX. It's a shame it didn't go into King, and that'll sting because it went onto their Sejuani, but a kill's a kill. They actually saved the mid tier 2 with the MF ult, but I think Gen.G can stick around. Chovy's actually just gonna push out top and TP down here to keep the tower alive, so it's a kill, but it's not an objective. Need a little bit more than that, DRX, but they have to send 2 members to kill this Fiora. The Camille will not win 1v1 with the Fiora being this far ahead. So, desperation moves on numbers advantage, but it's their only real way to find these plays.
Certainly is a tricky map state. It's only gonna get harder as Gen.G holding on to this 3K gold lead. And as you highlighted earlier, Cloud Soul is going to be important. You got an MF on your team, you love to have those ultis. It's a similar story for Soraka, but it's not infernal. It's not something that could offer you much more effective combat stats. Hopefully outvalue some of the champions on the opposite side. So for now, a brief period of quiet before the next dragon. 1 minute away, 1:30 on the Baron. Neither of these teams so far ahead that they can just start a Baron up, so a quieter mid game here. And I think this is the nature of game 1s and best of 5 K-Drills. We so often see game 1 a testing ground. Games 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you're gonna talk about, often much more explosive, much more bloody, but game 1 often really about testing your metal, poking, looking for weaknesses, trying to find those avenues and angles. Gen.G take control of mid.
Yeah, T1, of course, losing that game yesterday in game 1, but then bouncing back as the series progressed is a good example of that. So what DRX have done right now on the map is they've actually sent Kingen towards top. They know that bot side is a liability and they can't stick around there for too long, and Zeka will never get this top push, so they said, let's just cross-map. Let's just force a tier 2 top while they go towards a dragon, and we'll race them on side lanes to trade gold. It's always good to trade gold when you're behind, and when you're ahead, you always want to trade to your own benefit, but now it's 1-for-1 in towers so far. It might be 2-for-2, but Doran has flash. He's playing a very confident next to Lehends.
Really want to get this kill, but of course the Tahm Kench being there stops it in its track. It's going to be tower for tower now match. DRX trying really hard to overload top side. They will get the tower trade, but very little else past that.
The losing play for this would be you would actually give up the dragon, but DRX, seeing Lehends and Doran up towards that top side, they say, well, we'll just run towards mid here as 5, push this wave in, and I expect them to go towards bot side or decide to back away and give up this dragon, but no, they're staying around looking for this mid tower. Gen.G, Chovy doesn't have the TP, so he can't look to flank them. They are going to move into this bot side river. They are going to take out a little bit of this vision, but they just got a lot of gold in their back pockets and they haven't spent it, so opting into a fight is very dangerous. Giving Gen.G just 1 dragon at 20 minutes is not that much of a pain.
And going to be very difficult to force that fight, especially when Chovy already at 2 items. Shadow Flame as well as the Everfrost here. Going to be a very difficult man to lock down and to shut down in these fights. Doran just clearing out vision, gets that top wave pushed in, and the map state returns to normalcy. So Gen.G realizing that DRX have backed away, knowing that they are stronger in the fight, will take the free dragon.
It's been a consistent 4,000 gold lead roughly for Gen.G over the last 3 or 4 minutes. They're holding on to it. It's very hard for DRX to find plays. Doran is their best target, but Chovy's constantly pushing out sides and just disappearing into fog of war. Here comes the top pressure again for DRX. The benefit of this is if you commit numbers top for pressure, then of course you get vision around Baron, which will help you slow the game down. Peanut finds Pyosik. Zeka's looking for this blue buff. Chovy is on the way. This could be dangerous if they overstay for too long. Will Zeka get it? Yes, he will. And they will get out. Deft just farming up. Kingen was hovering around, but he will go back towards the bot side now. So DRX trying to get as much shallow vision on this top side as possible, putting down some pinks, buying time for this Azir.
Scaling. Zeka, 1.5 items. Now going to be 2 as he backs and finishes the Brelonomicon. Grabs an extra Amp Tome as well, but definitely not full on late game Azir status quite yet in the game.
The Azir is really far behind, isn't he? Just bought the Morello now, so that'll help out a little bit, but needs a lot more damage. Completing that Morello doesn't give you that much of a power spike. The Azir really wants to... I think he was looking for a shuffle there, Zeka, or some kind of WE to get closer with his Q to actually chunk Peanut out, but he needs to get a Rabadons as quick as possible. Build up to that late game Azir threat. Now they're going to contest some mid-waves here. DRX will get the push out because Gen.G are showing both their solo laners on side, so TP actually coming in from Chovy. Maybe he was scared they were going to force that tower.
There's the potential of the DRX composition. That is the strength of Sejuani that we highlighted earlier on, as well as the Camille. The reliable engage tools certainly are there for DRX, and while Lehends is around, can mitigate some of it, they always have to be careful, they always have to give that respect, but you can see Gen.G have not struggled to give that respect. They have not misstepped, they have not given anything away, and the gold lead does just continue to grow as they keep picking up these side waves, as they keep farming more, pushing their vision out. Soon, I expect, are going to start looking to contest the Baron.
I think Vedius was touching on the desk how DRX don't often draft this traditional form of engage, and the game that they have done it with the Sejuani, there's a Tahm Kench on the other side, right? So the second the Sejuani ult lands, that's an each target, and then they disengage, and the fight continues, so you lose that engage quite quickly. Gen.G sweeping out this top side. It's very hard for them to start up the Baron. Of course, DRX have double TP, and they can easily walk into this pit. There's no real great turn for Gen.G that actually merits a Baron start. DRX, I guess they could sneak a Baron over the wall with the Azir and Sejuani, but Gen.G will never allow that to happen. And it looks like it might just be a slow dragon stacking game. Gen.G can't really overforce, and DRX have to commit 2 numbers to make this play happen. The only danger of this is losing Nash, but Doran will see him, and he'll back away.
Kingen obviously at the point in the game where you start to shred through those towers. Doran for now, confident staying under this tier 1. You can see why, because just to the left of your screen is Lehends now walking in, and that's the cue for DRX to hightail it out of there.
So the reason DRX are even looking for that play in the first place is because they know Chovy doesn't have TP. They're trying to use that to their advantage by trying to force a 2-man play onto Doran, knowing that Peanut and Chovy cannot respond, but it's Lehends who's been covering these side lanes on Tahm Kench because he knows Ruler is safe on these mid waves. And Gen.G are happy to slow the game down as well. They're incredibly good scaling too, and they control the game right now. There's no real threat of that soul. They took away the 3rd one, and it's just a matter of time before Gen.G overcommit on this top side, push out top, starts forcing a Baron as Doran's pushing in bot, and you have to make a choice. Do you stop Doran with your jungle top, or do you give up the Baron? And of course, DRX will always try to fight the Baron, but Gen.G need to hit towards that 3-item spike before they can force it.
BeryL checking the brush there with silence, getting what information he can as Chovy retreats back in the safety of his own side of the map. And again, Casual, you highlighted it so well, but it is just looking, fishing for any opportunity, trying to find these pockets of vision, hoping that that control ward won't be there the second time around, trying to find picks to lead to greater advantages or objectives. Because again, as long as neither team feels confident enough to just force start the Baron, it's going to be about playing for the next dragon. It's going to be about playing for these side lanes, finding these objectives. DRX obviously very easy for them to look at that tier 1 in the bottom lane, the next target in their eyes.
And let's not forget, of course, DRX are 0-8 against Gen.G this year. 0-12 overall, but they've never beaten Gen.G once this year in the best of 3s. And there's often been games like in the first round of summer regular season where they're playing Kog'Maw, Seraphine, Lulu, and they're ahead. They have Ocean Soul, they're up 5 gold or something, and then they throw the game away around Elder Dragons. So DRX have always struggled. Gen.G is almost like their kryptonite at times in the regular season. 4 times they played a best of 3, 8 games won for Gen.G. DRX now controlling this top side, fighting back, trying to get some kind of vision. Gen.G quick to respond. Ruler's on red buff though, so they have to be a bit slow before they walk in. Peanut paying respect as he waits for his World Championship AD carry to step up and be behind him on that 3-item spike. Now they'll start to move forward, so you expect Gen.G will start to push DRX back.
They see an opportunity, they want to get it because Deft is waiting over the wall, but keep your eyes on the ultimate. It could be big, but it is not enough. Leaping in now, Chovy diving to the backline, taking the ultimate away from Kingen and finding the kill. Just like that, Gen.G see their opportunity, and they're right onto the Baron.
Ruler arrives, and in a blink of an eye, he starts to fight onto Pyosik. Actually gets the kill in the roots, so Pyosik can't even respond, do anything at all. Chovy takes away the Camille ult, E-Flash ult on top of BeryL. He has no way out, and Gen.G, with that one fight, now have a Baron in their hands. TP coming in here from Chovy. They want to force this mid push so they can secure the dragon as well. They don't want DRX to get absolutely anything. Zeka was hovering around that dragon pit, trying to trade it as an objective, try and find some kind of consolation prize. But now, with this 1-3-1, Gen.G will start to run away with it.
And you can see why Gen.G are so confident to keep scaling into this game when they're coming in from multiple angles, when Deft is not there, when the DRX do not have that strong front-to-back team fight. They just get picked to pieces.
So he's rooted into a stun. I think it was the repulse from Fiora, instantly get the kill, or the Viego W, but there's Chovy with the stolen Hextech ultimatum, just dashes forwards, flashes on the Soraka. He knows that the Soraka is a key target in these fights, and DRX, as much as they wanted to contest there, they didn't even stand a bloody chance, did they? Ruler just melted straight through their front line.
And again, this is what we talked about. You spend the whole game fishing, and all it takes is one misstep, one over-eager attempt to gain control of the Baron for the game to fall further out of the hands of DRX. And while scaling versus scaling certainly is something that has to be considered, and execution will always be a part of the equation, 7k gold starts to feel more and more insurmountable. The Baron buff as well, 2 minutes left. The only good news is they don't have the best champions in the world to try and force a siege. Yeah, they're going to grab a couple tier 2s, but short of a DRX mistake, very unlikely they'll grab anything else. That said, Lehends there to back up, waiting, going to go for the Devour, waiting out the timer. TP now coming in. Gen.G think they have their fight. Now it's the Camille that's been isolated instantly. Doran now leaping forward. Grand challenge, stepping in, finding a bit more healing. DRX on the back split. Gen.G, they want more. They got the wave to back them up. A single cannon minion. BeryL locked down. BeryL taken out. Deft to the Soraka. Now the single cannon minion, all that remains. Zeka gonna clear that one out. A new wave to come in, and Gen.G taking control of the mid lane.
Health bars are low, so Gen.G are going to send their top jungle to force down this tier 2 on the top side while Ruler gets through this tier 3 in mid. DRX have thrown so many things at Gen.G, but they found a response to absolutely everything. And you can't really blame DRX. Their only plays this game have been overcommitting numbers to side. How can they engage mid up against this Tahm Kench with a Sejuani on your team, with a Soraka on your team? It's so hard to dive onto them and follow up. Your best bet is these side plays, but Gen.G know it. Lehends has been covering. Doran's ready with the TPs. Chovy too. And the second they overstep for it, Gen.G are there.
Again, DRX think that they have their avenue. They think they have their opening, but both of the single target CC options come out. That is the cue for Lehends to use the Devour. And effortless now for Doran to turn. Gives enough respect to back away, but DRX running out of time, at a deficit. And right now, Gen.G absolutely out-executing.
BeryL, no flash there, instantly picked up by the Overfrost of Chovy. No way out. Baron buff still up for the next 20 seconds. They didn't get the inhibitor, and they're trying to push in a bot wave right now. Chovy doesn't have the TP, but there's the E.
Lehends! He's just eating the top laner, doesn't even mind. He's a support, but he's got the team to back him up. Ruler gonna finish the job, and it is a slaughter in the DRX jungle.
It is clean, calm, and consistent from Gen.G. We talked about how stable and reliable their carries are. Well, their team is as well. Little to no mistakes.
Lockdown, Zeka, the knock-up now coming in. The Soraka healing will not be enough. DRX have yet to find a win against Gen.G, and this game is not the game where it'll happen. Absolute dominance from Ruler, from Chovy, from the entirety of Gen.G.
37 seconds. Lehends pops the stopwatch, manages to live through the ultimate. Does he die? No, he doesn't.
Forward, Deft locked up, instant cleanse. Enough!
This Varus
taken down, and we talked about it. This is what makes Gen.G terrifying, the consistency and execution. It is top tier, flawless League of Legends.
You can't fault it, can you? They play it by the book, and they play it clean. DRX do everything they can in their power to find these plays, to actually find advantages in any of these lanes, because all three lanes were pushing into them. They had to do something, and Gen.G knew it. They read them back. And Ruler on the Varus, despite falling behind in the early portions of the lane, the Herald got him back into it, and he kept farming mid-waves, was sitting very quietly while his team sorted out those side lanes, got his 3 items, started the fight, got a Baron. So, yeah. Can't really fault it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the team-wide effort to make sure that the Camille and the Sejuani looked absolutely useless